So nice to meet you. I guess live for everyone to see, but it's great to
Yeah.
meet you.
Yes, likewise, likewise. So thank you for coming on my self-care check-in wellness talk series. So you're episode 28, and I'm so very excited that you agreed to do it. This is the first episode of 2024, so that's exciting. You're the very first guest this year,
Thank
so
you so much. I'm so grateful to be on with you and to be the first guest.
yeah. All right, so hello everyone that's coming in. Yeah, I see some people I know. All right, so Shannon, yeah, wow. So I looked at your Instagram and you seem to be like a content creator and you're also the founder of a card game
Mhm.
that helps build your faith, if I comprehend correctly. So yeah, tell the audience about you, what you do, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I've done social media for a few years now as a content creator. I started on the agency side. More recently, I feel like I've been called to do this card game that I'm actually really passionate about. It's, have you ever played the game We're Not Really
No,
Strangers?
but I've heard of it. I've never played.
Okay, so basically, it's a card game that allows people to connect on a deeper level. And for me, my faith is very important to me. And so this card game is kind of an introduction to that for people who are faith curious and want to kind of learn more about, or just have questions and want to have edifying
Right,
conversation. It's based off fruits of the spirit. So those things are love, truth, joy, peace, and I want people to be able to have good conversations about important things that really mean something rather than the kinds of conversations you overhear in the street and they're not necessarily, I would say, like good.
yes.
Hmm.
So you're based in LA or in New York? Because I'm in New York as
Yeah,
well. So
I'm based in LA. Right now I'm in New York. My card game's getting shipped here, so I'll be here in the meantime. So that's where I'm
love
based.
that. And you also do some content creation as well.
Hmm.
Nice. Beauty, skincare, fashion, lifestyle in those niches or?
Yeah, in those niches, I love all of it, to be honest. It's very fun to create things for just people to engage with and have a community online. I think
Yeah.
that's probably my favorite part is just meeting all these people from everywhere and then you are in their cities and you guys meet up and you guys just hang out and you guys already have similar interest and you know it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, besides like building my brand, I also do a little content creation on the side. And right, especially living in New York, there's always a cool event to go to. So, you're right. Yeah, like fostering that community and building that credibility with your audience through content creation. But everyone says they're a content creator now,
Hmm.
but it is fun to do it when you're in it.
Yeah,
So,
is that your favorite part, events?
um, kind of they are. Yeah, skincare was the longest, like the only thing I used to do as far as like creating content and receiving like PR packages. But then, when it's ready to like branch off to like beauty and fashion, and then yeah, and another side of it, it's like events. And I'm sure having both lived in LA and New York, hi, then right, there's the plethora of events to go to in LA and New York.
Yeah,
So
I love that part as well.
yeah. Yeah, so let's go right into the two truths and one lie. So this is actually a new like segment that we added as a part of the series. So the guest that we have on is supposed to tell two truths and one lie, and then obviously we're supposed to guess the lie. So can you tell us two truths and one lie?
Okay, yes. I have won a basketball game in Madison Square Garden. I love cheese, and I spend my free time watching podcasts on neuroscience.
So the love cheese, that has to be a truth. Who doesn't like cheese? Oh, I'm supposed to guess the lie. Whoops. Okay, so the lie. I'm gonna say the Madison Square Garden one. Is that
So the lie is actually that I love
what?
cheese. I
What?
I do not like cheese, and that's like usually the easiest lie to tell that is disguised as the truth, since so many people love cheese.
Yeah,
But I'm just not a fan. I've never been one.
that is. Are you okay? Are you lactose intolerant or are you just
No, I just don't. It just smells so weird. Like I can't put it in my
Ah,
mouth.
Samantha said she knew it. That is so surprising. Wow. Yeah,
I
usually
say
people hi. Yeah, the usually people that I know don't like cheese or like lactose, so they don't like drink milk and right don't can't eat ice cream,
it's
but
just
yeah,
something about the flavor. I just can't do it.
wow. Oh, the texture, that is so
Yeah,
surprising to me. Oh
so
my God, I love cheese.
soft and chewy. Yeah.
Oh. Hello, hello everyone that's joining. All right, so this is the fun part where we're going to get into the questions. So there's 7 in total. So now the first one. How do you find time to hit pause on life and tend to yourself?
I think for me, prioritization is key.
Mm,
I think making a day out of the week for rest is something that's biblical, and so that's what I abide by. But additionally, as a creative, I'm sure you know, sometimes you need to hit pause to find that inspiration within yourself.
yes,
And you need to slow down the noise, you need to stop everything going on around you, and you need to allow your brain to just run and think and come up with new content ideas or come up with things that you want to put out into the world. Or sometimes you even need time to just put together like Legos or something, but something to just let your mind kind of return back to itself so you can be the most optimized version of yourself. But I think a lot of times we don't typically prioritize that because, I mean, our culture is so work, work, work.
right.
But I think in order to produce great results, you definitely need to take the time to be, um, I guess, introspective and really just take time for self care.
I agree. Beautiful answer.
Thank
Wow.
you.
Literally such a good answer. Right, because we live in a world where like boss babes and hustle culture and and getting done what you need to get done to level up, But then it's the other side. It's like, wow, if I don't take a break for myself, like I'm gonna burn out,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I see that like faith is also a huge part um of who you are as a person. So are you Christian or
Yeah, I'm Christian.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Samantha says, in order to produce great results, you need to take time for self-care. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, that's literally what I promote with my brand. Like self-care isn't selfish,
Mm-hmm.
for women. For anybody, but for mostly women.
Yeah.
So great answer.
Thank
Great
you.
answer.
I love what you said about like the boss babe thing and everyone just wanting to get to the next level. But I truly believe in, I mean, right now, I believe in the soft girl era. I believe in, if you're going to produce great results, it comes from a place of abundance and overflow. And you just can't get there if you're burnt out consistently and
Oh,
just, struggling to get to the next level. I think it has to come from a place where you're relaxed, you're comfortable, you're enjoying your life around you, you're inspired, you feel creative, and then, you can pull from that like just amazing results. So,
right. I
yeah.
agree. And I know for me, sometimes when I haven't taken a time for myself, I find it the hardest time to like do simple tasks. So, and that's when I know, well, I've almost reached burnout. Like, let
Mm-hmm.
me take a day or two off. Because then when you have a to-do list to do, and you procrastinate, procrastinate, procrastinate. It's like, okay, my body's telling me something. If I can't do like the simplest tasks, then I
Mm-hmm.
probably means I need like a moment or a day or two to myself. So
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you on
Yeah.
that. Second question, what does wellness mean to you?
For me, wellness means doing things that take care of your future self,
Mm,
making decisions that serve your long term future rather than short term impulse pleasure. I think wellness means, taking time to eat well, exercise well. I need to get back on that, by the way. This is a good
uh,
reminder. Um, And, whether that's spiritual or whether that's, just taking the time to really do the research to understand the things that your body needs fully. I think it's making sure you prioritize things that serve you long term and allow you, if you are a machine, to keep going
Right.
at a consistent pace and not burn out. Whatever that means. For some people, it's baths, some people, it's reading, journaling, whatever it is, but just making sure that you're taking the time to become your best self at the end of it.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Yeah, it's a very like personal question. And it's very personalized to each person how they answer it. Um, but yeah, wellness is even, it can be like the simplest things for people. It for some it's as simple as like a bubble bath. For some it's going to therapy.
Mhm.
A lot of people, like past guests, have said that. Yeah, it's whatever makes you the best person you can be, so you can do what you have to do, and you can be productive, and you can be well-rounded physically, mentally, spiritually. That's another component of it. A lot of people don't think about. So yeah,
Thank you
love that answer that you.
so much.
Yeah, I love that. So now, third question. What are your favorite ways to self-care?
For me, I love journaling. I love
Oh, you
I
do?
love reading.
Wow.
Lately, I've enjoyed solo dining,
Oh,
and I love going into an empty restaurant and like literally sitting in the corner by myself and savoring my food as I'm eating it.
mm,
Just having that presentness in the moment and people watching outside or just noticing how I'm feeling as I'm like eating this sushi. It's so silly. But I feel like it's really self care in the sense of it's a luxury to be able to sit down with yourself and not have
mm,
anywhere to be. It's a
mm,
luxury to taste the food in your mouth and know that it's good and you are just enjoying this moment and savoring every part of
right.
it. To know that you're safe in your surroundings, to know that you can pay for this meal, like, and just understanding like the luxury of being that present in this space. And I love, getting lost in fantasy fiction or catching sunset in LA. I love that so
Oh, yeah,
much.
the sunsets are good there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that I started last year was taking a day to just get off my phone. And I would plan an itinerary the night before of the things that I wanted to do. And usually they were things I've never done, but I've always wanted to. And you know how like you want to do things, but sometimes your friends
Um,
don't, and you're like, okay, well, I still want to do them.
yeah.
So I would have a list and I would go to a new place, explore, and check everything off that list, phone list, just to experience all of it.
Wow.
And I feel like that's just an amazing way personally for me to self-care because then I'm like, I don't abandon myself. I still do the things that I want to
Right.
do. And I am fully immersed in my surroundings and the things that are happening around me. So I love that.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank
And hi,
you.
Lindsay, everyone that's joining. And the audience, you're free to, can answer the questions in the chat if you want. Um, but yeah, like taking yourself out to lunch, yeah, some people might, you have to be very confident to do something like that. Let me just say that. Yeah, and I've eaten lunch by myself. I
Mhm.
remember when I used to live in Harlem, there was this one Indian restaurant that I loved to go to. I was like, I'm just gonna go there by myself and enjoy a nice meal and try not to be on my phone and like people watch.
Yeah.
But you do have to have a lot of confidence to do that. One, going out to eat by yourself. But then it's the other side. Well, I enjoy
Mhm.
time myself, like spending time by myself. I enjoy my own energy. I enjoy not necessarily always having someone to do something with. Like
Mhm.
I enjoy my free time. So that's very interesting that you say that. I've never actually received an answer like that. So this is for all you guys listening and watching and rewatching the playback. That it's nothing wrong with enjoying a meal by yourself, taking yourself
Mhm.
out, and enjoying your own like time because it's a very like what's the word I'm looking for when you're overstimulating like society where
Mhm.
you always have to have someone with you and looking at something and doing something.
Yeah.
It's like no, just enjoy a meal by yourself and enjoy your own time. You know.
Instant gratification. I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the word too.
Yeah.
That's the word too.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
am
so I love.
so curious, by the way. What did you order when you were at this restaurant?
Oh yes, I got a chicken, uh, garlic naan and chicken
Sounds
masala.
great.
Yeah, was I love. Do you like Indian food too?
I love garlic naan. I'm a big garlic girl. So, yeah.
Oh, I love
hmm
Indian food. It's like the right amount of spice. So
hmm
there's a question for you, by Samantha. What would you tell someone who wants to start
Samantha's
journaling?
one of my dear friends. Thank you so
Love
much for
that.
watching.
Aw.
Um, I think for me, what really got me into journaling was when I started this book called The Artist's Way. And I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's written by this author called Julia Cameron, and a bunch of, people who are creative have done it, like Martin Scorsese, I think, and Alicia Keys. And it's
Really?
this whole program where every day you write 3 pages a day. And once a week, you take yourself out on an artist date and you do creative things and you hold yourself accountable. So, like, the morning pages are 3 pages every morning when you first wake up,
Mm,
and you get all of your brain dumping out. Everything that's been filling your mind, your worries, your stress, the things you're excited about, your to do list, random musings that come into your
mm,
mind. And I was doing that every morning for like a month. And I realized how I felt when I was doing it was that I could show up for myself consistently. And I
wow.
think that was that, like, journaling previously, I would have all these journals and never finish them.
Mm,
I'm on like my fourth journal now. I've been pretty consistent since May 14th of last year,
okay.
but trying to do 3 pages every single day shows me that I can show up for myself. And
Wow.
so if you can do that in something as small as journaling, and you can get up to like 4 journals, 5 journals, you could write a book. You can write a book.
Oh,
What else can you do?
really?
You know what I mean? Like, it just opens up maybe like a limiting belief that maybe you can't show up every day for yourself in a creative way. But with this, you can.
Mm,
So,
and
yeah.
it's very simple. It's very
hmm
simple.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, journaling. That's because like they say, we live a lot of our lives in our heads. And sometimes all our thoughts and feelings don't like come out, or we
hmm
don't have an outlet for it. So
Yeah.
I love that you
Yeah.
do that.
Sometimes it's hard. You spend the whole day doing everything you're supposed to do, but you're just distracted.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
everything's ruminating on your to-do list, all the things you're worried about.
Yes,
And I feel like sometimes it's good to just get it out. And that way you just create more space for whatever to come in. But if it just sits there, then there's no room for any inspiration or creativity to flow through you.
exactly.
You're blocked. So, yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good answer.
Thank
Self
you
care.
so much.
Oh, I love people that like journaling because it also shows that um, you do a lot of self-reflecting too.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people have to start doing that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but as you said, yes, it helps to bring those thoughts to life as you write them down. So you're not so in your head all the time.
Yeah.
So a lot of people should start doing that. And to be honest, I used to journal, but I've stopped
Mm-hmm.
because life gets crazy. But
Yeah.
I do. Maybe this is my sign to like start doing it again.
Hey.
Uh,
It's like a little thing. It doesn't even have to be 3 pages, like half a page or
right?
something. Mhm.
Exactly. Great
Thank
answer.
you.
This one is very, very personal.
Yes.
But how do you personally cope with stress?
Well, I mean, I think this is a great question because stress is something we all
Yeah.
deal with.
Yes.
Sometimes I feel like we feel so alone in our stress, and that's just not the truth. Every person I've ever met, has gone through a period of time where they just felt like they probably couldn't get through it.
Yeah.
For me, since I found my faith, I think a lot of what helps me is in that moment, like going straight to my Bible and like hitting Proverbs. Just finding wisdom
A
on how
lot
to
of
deal with
wisdom in
things.
that book.
Yes. And then prayer. A lot of the time for me, when things are not working out in my head the way that I anticipate them to or expect them to, I try my best to pray about literally everything.
Mm,
And when I'm in the process of doing that, I think what happens for me is I get the reminder that everything I've ever gone through in life happened for a reason. And
mm,
I'm just reminded of
yeah.
that. And
Good or bad.
good
Yeah.
or bad, and but it all works out for my greatest good. And that's God's promise for us, right? It's that all these things work out for our greatest good or bad. He's used them in some way. Like, I remember sometimes there were jobs that I had when I was younger and I had no idea why I needed them.
Mm,
Like, I'm in content creation now. My first job out of college was at an agency. It was a small agency, so I had to do 3 different jobs at the same time. I was like creating content, I was like doing the community management, and then I was also trying to start like influencer back and forth, right? And you wonder in that moment, like, I'm doing 3 people's jobs. Like, why? How am I doing this?
right.
And then it comes into, then you start your own content creation, and you need to learn how to negotiate
Mm,
contracts. You need to learn what the brands are looking for, what talent is supposed to ask for. You need to learn how to create your own content. You need to learn how to manage your own community.
yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, hindsight is always 2020. And so I think prayer helps me realize that everything that I've ever endured in my past life helps me in my future life for some reason. And
Wow.
so I then stop, kind of, I try my best to stop that feeling of stress, and I'm just like, okay, whatever I'm going through right now is a lesson for something in the future. I'm being prepared.
Mm,
So I should be grateful that my present self is enduring this lesson, because in the future I will thank my past self for having gone through it. And I
right.
think that like helps me kind of move past it. Um, but I think that's really it for me. And then on a physical level, I turn on some music and I just sing or dance in my room by
Yeah.
myself and like just get
That's
it
a stress
out,
reliever for
get it
sure.
out of my system. um, but yeah, I would say prayer just, opens up that mindset of like, okay, everything happens for a reason. You're not alone in this. You've been through harder things and you've endured it. You've got through it. What's the testimony on your life? You've got through it, right? So, there's more to look forward to, and let's just shake it off, you know? Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, that's good. Prayer, and that's another thing I wanted to do for 2024. I'm also Christian as well.
Beautiful.
To build my relationship with God because I know that I can pray more, but it sounds so bad, but I just like get lazy or I do it for like 5 seconds and then I like fall asleep. So it's so and it's like you can do it at any moment. And my mom and dad always say, you should pray more because they're praying, like they grew me up to pray and believe in God and all that. So, um, and that requires a lot of self-reflection, what you said. Like, this may be hell what I'm going through now, but in 2 to 5 years, I know that I'm going gonna look back on this and be like, wow, I went through that because of this.
Yeah.
Like, I learned this lesson because of this miserable moment in my life too.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so that requires a lot of self-reflection, what you said, to be able to do that. But yeah, it's um, when you're in the moment and you're in your worst moment and not in the situation you want to be in, you kind of have to have clarity to think like that because
Mm-hmm.
you don't tend to really look that far in the future when what you're going through is like hell or you're miserable now. So prayer, as you know, provides a lot of clarity,
Mm-hmm.
and they say when you pray to God, pray for like wisdom and
Mm-hmm.
knowledge and discernment. And he brought up the book of Proverbs,
Mm-hmm.
and that book is full of
Wisdom.
like
Mm-hmm.
nuggets of wisdom to have for life and all that
Yeah.
jazz. Um, yeah, so um, have you always been like Christian, or has it is it like a new religion for you? Like what
I
that
haven't. Uh,
spiritual? Yeah,
yeah, my family's not Christian. I'm the first Christian in my family.
really.
I came into it probably about like 5 or 6 years ago.
Wow.
And I kind of went through a lot in my life. I would say I like struggled with disease, like my dad passed away when I was younger.
Wow.
There's a lot going on at home for me. You know, there was a lot. And I think typically when people see me now, they don't expect for that to have been my past. But like I said to you earlier, I think when you come into the presence of God and you realize that all these things happened in your life for a reason. And
Mm,
for me, that reason is I can be a bridge for other women I meet
mm,
that are going through the same
right.
thing. And because I'm on the other side of it, we can have conversations and there's someone that they can relate to that can help them onto the other side of it. Whereas I didn't necessarily have that. I'm okay with it. My thought process is like, I would 100 times go through all the things that I had gone through in the past if that meant one person had a friend to help them go through what they are going through in the current moment, if that makes sense.
Right. Right.
But I empathize with you, like what you were saying earlier. It's hard to pray sometimes. Like sometimes you just start and then you stop and then you're like, oh, why am I even doing this? But I
Yeah.
think a lot of times when you just look back into your old life and you think about how many things you've overcome, how many moments, countless moments probably where you're like, I am not going to make it out of this.
Mm, yeah.
And yet you were brought through each and every single time. And so then you know in some ways that the prayer worked, or you just know in some ways that someone was looking out for you. And so then it makes it easy to like rely on this source that has watched out for you your entire
Mm,
life. And like, why wouldn't you go when you know that it's free? It comes at no cost, you know?
right.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to put it. Okay. Okay, so number five. Are you, this is also a very personal question. Are you vocal about your needs enough? Hello, everyone that's joining.
Uh, yes, I'm very, very vocal. And I think it's because I think it's respect. And hear me out when I say this, but um, when you don't vocalize your needs, you have a hidden expectation for people to meet them,
Mm.
which means you expect someone to be a mind reader.
Oh, no
You
one's
know?
that.
You know what I mean? And like to me, that's disrespectful. Like if you truly honor and respect the people who are in your life, you are going to voice the things that you need and you are going to allow them to meet you there. You're going to give them the opportunity to meet you there because you want relationship, right? That's the goal. And so I think for me, being very vocal about my needs offers an opportunity for me and my relationships to grow closer. And I'm not saying it's easy, it's definitely
It is.
difficult. But I think that the relationships that are worth it and stay and are truly meaningful and allow for growth and, you know, a chance to be the better versions of yourselves, it requires a ton of
It
communication.
does.
And it's not easy.
And the thing is, no one really wants to be, not no one. A lot of people don't want to be vulnerable in that way because it requires you to say what you're not happy about, um, what you're feeling, and it may rub people the wrong
Yes.
way. You know what I mean? But then if you're not vocal about it, then it's like it's eating you up inside.
Yeah.
So it's good to be vocal about what you need and what you don't like, so it doesn't continue and it can be addressed.
I think a lot of people get caught up on the fact of like, oh, what are they gonna think? Or like,
Yeah.
whatnot. But sometimes, and I'm realizing this as I get older, but I just feel like there's certain people in your life that there's a fit. There's
Mm,
just a fit, and it's easy.
right.
And you just get each other and you communicate similarly, and there's a safety and acceptance there that allows you to really cultivate your friendship or relationship.
Mm,
And then I think you come across some people where it's like a lot harder and
yeah, it's
you feel
resistant.
this friction and resistance. And I would say in the relationships that just are a fit, there's this beautiful safety where you can just be who you are and say what you are and say what you feel. And it's well received. And so now as I get older, I'm very cautious of the relationships that feel like a lot of friction because to me inherently it shows for some reason, there is not a safety in my ability to communicate to you how I feel. And this is a caveat. Obviously, you have to communicate respectfully, you know,
Right.
but if things are being communicated respectfully and there's still friction, it makes me wonder, where does that come from?
Exactly.
Is there something still not being said on your end? Is there something still not being said on my end? And how can we move past that?
Right. Right. Yeah, like you said, there's relationships, friendships, romantic, whatever, coworker, every relationship you have, it's like ease of communication or there's going to be resistance. And both require work. I mean, every relationship is not like no one's perfect. Every relationship is not perfect. And communication is a big thing in all relationships.
Yes.
So that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so now sixth question. Now, do you think conversations about mental health are still taboo in recent years, or has progress been made?
Personally, in my experience, I feel like it's not as taboo as it
I
was. I
agree.
think, our generation has a lot more resources available.
Mm-hmm.
Like just having the internet in and of itself, like you can Google,
Oh
why am
boy,
I feeling this way? And you'll get
yeah.
a response. And at least with the people that I surround myself with, we have open conversations on things that are like therapy or how we're feeling and things we're doing to cope with the things that we're feeling or going through. And it's not difficult to get there. A lot of people, I think, are, at least in my generation, I feel like practice self awareness. And
Mm,
so they are aware of their shortcomings and where their trauma stemmed from and all these kinds of things. And I think it's a beautiful thing because that means as a society, hopefully, we're all growing to be better versions of ourselves, not wanting to leave the things that we have stuck within us to our future families or the next generation. We want to do the work. Yeah. So personally, I think it's a little less taboo. And I think even younger kids now are learning a little bit more about these things. And I'm really excited for that because, I'm just excited for a generation that comes in the future that takes responsibility for who they are and does not pass on things to the next generation.
yeah, generational trauma, that is one thing that I see a lot of millennials and definitely Gen
Yeah.
Z are learning about and taking steps to make sure that it doesn't happen in the current generation and generations like new coming up. Um, but yeah, I think Gen Z is, I don't know where I read this, but like, wasn't millennials like the loneliest generation or something? Or was that baby boomer? I don't know. It's too many. But I read it somewhere. I think it's Gen Z though, that they're like the loneliest generation. It's like, why is that? Like, vocal about things that bother them. They're Gen Z is very true to who they are. So I don't know. I but to answer the question, yes, I do think conversations about mental health uh, have gotten better. Because I remember years ago, people were like hush hush when they were going to therapy and taking, you know, um, meds for their mental health, and now people are more vocal about those things. Like, yeah, I go to therapy once a week. Yeah, I take so and so for my anxiety. So where years ago, I feel like stuff like that wasn't as open to like talk about and like mention.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I agree with you.
I mean, personally, I just feel like people are so beautifully vulnerable and strong when they can admit to actively doing the things that allow them to be better humans.
Right.
Because it doesn't affect just themselves, it affects everyone around them, which affects everyone around
Exactly.
them. And what you're saying when you say things like, I'm self aware and I go to therapy and I do the work, it means you want to contribute to society.
Mm,
And I think that's a really beautiful thing to want to be a part of. And I think the stigma that comes from around it is what I'm weak, right? But like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what is weak about wanting to create a better future for the world around you?
And for
I
your,
think if anything, you're stopping to do the work that someone before you didn't stop to do. And I
wow,
think that makes people incredibly strong.
me too.
So, mhm,
Me, yeah, there's a lot of strength and like
yeah,
vulnerability with things like that.
100%.
People where people tend to think it's opposite, but no. Do you know how strong you have to be to like show your vulnerability and like mention stuff about yourself that you feel people may judge you about, but you
Exactly.
say it anyway,
Mm-hmm.
like, or show it anyway, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Very
yeah,
big.
that's, but, yeah, I am happy that progress has been made. So now this is, okay, now you've like said a lot of really good nuggets for people to take home as far as like journaling and praying more and seeking guidance and knowledge. But what is one piece of advice that you would give to everyone watching?
I say this to everybody who asks me this question, but my answer is always to keep your promise to your vision.
Keep your promise to your vision. So
Yes.
keeping your dreams alive.
Yes, in some ways, I think on a deeper level, like it's knowing who you're called to be, knowing what you're meant to do. And from that place, every decision you make in your life has to correlate into that.
Right.
At your like highest point, at your best version, if you're doing the thing that you're dreamed of, what does it look like to eat like that person, to wake up like that person, to dress like that person, to become that person in every single way? And I
Yeah.
think a really big proponent of that statement, keep your promise to your vision, to me additionally is be integral to who you are.
Mm.
Do not become this person because you had to sacrifice parts of yourself or abandon your
Wow.
morality or abandon your values. I think we live in a fast paced, instant gratification
Ooh.
world, and it
Yeah.
can be very easy to just kind of go down that rabbit hole. But I think something about achieving your vision, knowing that you have never had to compromise who you are at the core, and know that you did it the right way with integrity, I think that process and then that achievement is the pinnacle of joy.
Mm.
You didn't have to sell parts of yourself or give up something in order to become that.
Right.
And I think there's a beauty in that.
Right. Right. Yeah, remaining true to who you are, because yeah, a lot of people do think, in order to achieve XYZ or become XYZ, I'm gonna have to sacrifice who I am and my morals and do things I necessarily don't want to do.
For the engagement, for the likes, for whatever. And
Yeah,
I'm sure like
I do.
in this content creator space, it is difficult. There are several things I have to turn down, especially as a woman of
Yeah,
faith now,
yeah,
But to me, it will make the achievement of who I'm supposed to be all the worthwhile.
right.
I do not want to compromise who I am in order to become her, because then I won't actually become her. I'll become a lesser version of her. And
Wow.
that's not a promise I'm willing to, fall back on. Oh, I guess my
Right.
light came out.
Oh, yeah, no, it happens, it happens. Yeah, I love that answer. And oh boy, and especially living in LA
Yes.
and New York, wanting to level up,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you, excuse me. Yeah, so just remaining true to who you are, and not sacrificing, especially if you're a woman of faith. Oh my God, especially if you're a woman of faith, not sacrificing who you are. And oh, so those are all the questions we have. Um, so are there any like questions from the audience? Trying to scroll up and see if I see any. Um, but yeah, what I got from this episode is remain true to who you
Mm-hmm.
are, journaling, because our thoughts need an outlet. It's it's very unhealthy to actually constantly like think everything in your head. Sometimes it's because you just get it out.
Yeah.
Even and you know what's crazy? Yeah, journaling too. But even if it's just telling someone you trust,
Yes.
like telling a friend, like if it's through voice notes, I do that sometimes. A family member, just having an outlet for it. But journaling is like kind of the best way because then you can look back on it and think like, wow, like this was the mindset I was in, or wow, like I no longer have these bad habits. Look how much I've, you know,
Grown.
evolved as
Yeah.
a person. So, um,
I think it's showing up for yourself.
yes,
No matter how you felt in the moment, you showed up for yourself that day and you have a record of that.
yep, yep. So this has been such a good episode, Shannon. Wow, you're actually the first like 2024 like guest
Thank you so
of
much.
my series. So you're episode 28, and there will be a replay on our YouTube channel, ZenLuxCo on YouTube, and we'll also have a clip of it posted to our feed within the next week, and I'll send you all of that, of course.
Amazing.
Um, but yeah, any like last words that you want the audience to, take away and sort of leave with, and for the replay too.
Let me think. I, I think probably the most important message out of this whole conversation that we've shared would probably be making sure that everything you do is aligned to the version of yourself you're called to be. I think
Mm,
truly staying integral in that sense and not abandoning yourself for anything because you deserve to know that version of yourself is,
mm,
is probably the message I'd love to leave behind to anyone watching. Yeah.
right. Love that. So there's actually a question from uh Kay Goodness,
Callie!
Cowie Goodness. There we go. So it says, as a creator and woman of faith, how do you discern what job opportunities are good or not? Great question.
Yeah, I think for me, as a woman of faith, instinctively, I have a sense of what goes against things biblically. And then also, discernment wise, I can feel what is it selling,
Mm,
right? Like, what is this selling? And is that for the enemy or is that for God?
okay.
And so, does it reflect the glory of God in your life or does it not? And
Mm,
so I think being intentional in that way, even if it's hard, because I'm sure you just go through social media and everything's, hypersexualized or everything is drugs, alcohol, things like this. And well, to each their own. But personally, I feel like what are you communicating? What are you advertising? When people see you, do they see God's glory in your life or
mm,
not? And I think
mm,
that's just how I do my best to discern like between job opportunities. But,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I do want to reach the point that Shannon's at with her faith in God, like faith and her relationship with God, because I definitely, I have definitely have to pray more because I'm very blessed. And anyways, yes, pray more. But yeah, just when you're on that journey of leveling up, you kind of have to have discernment, and especially with people you hang around with, when you're leveling up and you go to certain events and you're part of this crowd, having discernment to know that okay, like um, the habits that these people are doing are not quite do not quite align with who I am as a person. So I kind of have to like separate myself. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about,
Oh,
and I've
for
seen you
sure.
do,
Yeah.
especially in
Yeah.
LA and New York. but yeah, just having like who you are, like staying true to who you are, and just knowing you won't do certain things to like level up or look cool. That's
Yeah.
a big one too. Like look cool, whatever, but just staying true to who you are and not doing anything that you would feel bad about. You know what I'm saying? Or that can be detrimental to you. So
Yeah. I think for me, like, I didn't grow up Christian, and it was a while before I met my first one.
your
So,
first what?
yeah, my first
Oh,
Christian. So
oh,
it was a while. I was
oh
probably
my
like
goodness.
21 or something like that.
Wow.
So it was a long time. But I carry that with me kind of a little bit like a responsibility
Mm,
because, like you said, you're in so many settings that you've been blessed to be in. And
yes.
sometimes you're someone's only example.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that really changes the perspective when you realize that there is a responsibility you carry. And
Mm,
so I think not indulging in certain things for me is understanding that, like, if I'm going to be this reflection for
mm,
them and I'm going to give them advice or I'm going to pour into their lives, like, my life has to be congruent to what I'm saying to them.
wow. Yes.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a big one too.
Hmm.
Knowing that there's lots of like eyes on you, especially even more as a content creator,
Yeah.
right? So there's always eyes on you, even if from simple as a brand watching you that might want to work with you, um, a follower that you gain from TikTok, whatever, that there's always eyes watching you, and you don't want to come across as not necessarily two-faced, but what's the word I'm looking for?
Congruent. You just want to be in oneness
Oneness.
with who you say you are and who you are. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So, I hope that helped answer your question. You, Shannon says everything so perfectly. It's like I have to get like her. I should be more like how Shannon talks.
Uh,
No, but that's a good point. Yeah, having everything being one and not in your level up journey. Because we're all trying to level up in these streets. So,
mhm.
you know. Um, but yeah, that's the end of this episode. So the full episode and replay will be on our YouTube channel. Shannon will be episode 28. And yeah, thank you guys for interacting and having questions. And hopefully, you did take some nuggets away from Shannon. She did mention a lot. I think it was that book of Proverbs that you're reading, because it's a lot of knowledge really in that book in the Bible. So yeah, this has been so great, Shannon. Really, thank you for taking the time out your day to do this on a Friday night. Really, it means a lot to me. So.
Yeah. Thank you so much for trusting me with the first episode of 2024. I'm so grateful to have been included. I've been, it's a prayer of mine to have shared my voice more this year, and
Mm.
this opportunity is an answered one. So I just thank you for that opportunity.
Oh, thank you. All right. So I hope you guys have a good Friday night. And yeah, stay tuned for more episodes coming. And I hope you have a good night, Shannon. Thank
You
you so
too.
much. And I didn't tell you, you do
Oh,
look very beautiful.
thank you
Yeah.
so much. You as well.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys. Have a good Friday.
Bye.